The French are at it again, right? They're setting cars and cities on fire. And look, if the French know how to do one thing, it's definitely protesting and going on strike. I was just saying a few moments ago, I was very lucky to have a good French education, and I would find that many of my teachers would strike a lot of the time, and I never really appreciated or understood the value of that until I got older, because I understood what solidarity means. They weren't striking necessarily for themselves. They would strike, for maybe it was for another union that was doing something. Basically, there was coordinated action. They took it seriously. But let's talk about what's happening now, because Macron has got what he's wanted, what he's been fighting for several years, which is to raise the age of the pension age from 62 to 64, right? So if you want to go into retirement, you're going to be delayed now by 2 years. You got to work 2 more years. And people are fuming. I mean, quite literally, they're fuming. Look. All right, guys, let's read about it. So this is from The Guardian. French court approves Macron's unpopular plan to raise the pension age. So France's highest constitutional court, as I told you, has raised it from 62 to 64. The ruling means the government can pass the French president's unpopular plans to increase the minimum eligible pension age as early as next week, to be enforced by the end of this year. The government had hoped the ruling would put an end to 3 months of protests, but police were on high alert for more demonstrations on Friday night. Hundreds of demonstrators marched from Paris City Hall through the Marais area, with several bins, satellite, and firefighters tackling blazes. A fire was started in the entrance of a police station in the Brittany city of Rennes and blazed until it was put out by officers. The Interior Minister, Gérald Darmanin, tweeted that it was quote-unquote unacceptable. Macron now has 2 weeks to enact the law, so he has, right? I think literally, this is published April 14th. Literally the next day, April 15th, he signed it into law. So trade union, this crisis is not over yet, though. Trade unions and opposition politicians continue to urge the movement to shelve the increase in the pension age to 64, with polls showing that 2/3 of the French public oppose the measure. In Paris, armed riot police were on standby near the heavily guarded building of the Constitutional Council. All street demonstrations were banned from the area, and some metro stations closed. Special 3-meter high security screens were put in place. Police were expecting up to 10,000 protesters in the capital after the ruling, according to AFP. Hundreds of students and high school pupils gathered to protest near Paris' Gare Saint-Lazare in the early afternoon. Well, they better be careful they didn't travel to the UK, because they could get detained for quote-unquote terrorism. So lawyers are also, of course, complaining that policing of the protests was heavy-handed. I mean, Christ, if you remember during the Yellow Vest protests, man, there was some horrific stuff that happened to people. Like, I mean, the police brutality. Man, you got people who lost eyes, they couldn't hear anymore. Just tons of really, really bad stuff. Let me show you here as well. This is outside Paris. Macron was basically, people were not too pleased to see him make an appearance, right? This is from from France 24. They said French police fired tear gas Thursday in a village in southern France where President Emmanuel Macron visited a school. And, after facing angry voters on Wednesday in eastern Alsace, the 45-year-old head of state traveled to the southern Hérault region on Thursday to discuss education. In the run-up to his speech, police fired tear gas when hundreds of people were shouting, "Macron, resign," and blowing whistles tried to advance towards the school. It's a World War I wave. So The regional head of the CGT union told AFP that protesters had also been prevented from entering the secure area close to the school with pans as well as local flutes known as fifre. So let me show you over here Macron being greeted by ouch. Oh man, it's really funny because he spoke to this guy who shook his hand and he said, I want to shake hands with the president of the most corrupt government we've ever had.
Je voulais juste savoir que serrer la main à un président qui a un gouvernement aussi corrompu. Alors je me suis dit, il faut pas louper ça. Alors vous avez beaucoup de gens. Vous avez un gouvernement corrompu. On n'a jamais vu.
I can barely hear what Macron is saying. People are booing, so like I almost feel bad for him. I almost feel bad for him. Not quite, but almost. Oh man, the guy is like, oh yes, oh yeah, you are the most corrupt man. There's no question about it.
Un président, avoir un gouvernement aussi corrompu que le vôtre. Ouais, non, il n'y a pas d'être gentil. C'est la réalité. C'est la réalité. Parce que vous nourrissez des gens qui ne sont pas justes, monsieur.
He's saying that's the truth. That's reality. It's so funny because Macron is just standing there and he's like, I want to say he's like speaking, with him. He's not really speaking. He's being spoken to, which you don't really see that often. J'en suis certain aussi. Ne véhiculez pas cette image. Ah si, c'est vous qui. And he told him, please do not convey such a message. Do not carry such a message that basically I'm the president of the most corrupt government we've ever had. And then he tells him, oh no, it's you're the one who's propagating and basically signaling this fact to the rest of the world and to the country that you are corrupt, your government is corrupt. And honestly, I mean, because look, man, I've been covering these protests for quite a while, as you guys know, and especially this pension reform was a big topic before Macron was elected last year or re-elected. And out of everything I've seen, this is probably the most quote unquote democratic interaction. Out of all of them, I think he's never even heard this much from an actual French citizen, right? That's the most he's ever heard. Because, he's very adamant about this. And it's funny, I mean, well, it's sad, really. I say that ironically, because sarcastically, because when some people saw that Macron is going to go ahead with this pension reform after his re-election, I read this out to you. There was some person who had voted for Macron, and they were saying that, I voted for Macron because I wanted to stop Marine Le Pen from becoming president. Obviously, she's not, not really a choice, is she? But this voter said, I voted for Macron to stop Le Pen. Does that sound familiar? And now I feel like an idiot. That's what the person said, that I voted for Macron and he's going to screw me anyway. Yeah, well, that's what you get with this lesser of two evils. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. In some situations, you actually have a lesser of two evils. This was not one of them. Marine Le Pen, Macron, I mean, really, if you think Macron's not as a racist, you should see, how he treats Africans and what his attitude is about French colonialism. And you will understand very, very swiftly and quickly that is not the case. And, I mean, the lesser of two evils. You heard people, how many people do you know voted for Hillary Clinton, for Hillary Clinton because they wanted to stop Donald Trump, or Joe Biden also, as I was going to say, to stop Donald Trump. And then when they understand, oh, okay, that's who Joe Biden is. He's going to screw me. They kind of wake up. And that doesn't mean go vote Marine Le Pen or Trump. Obviously not. But, it's the point here is that the supposed differences that you may think you see between them are not real. They're just as repugnant, and nasty. Unfortunately, that's really the case. I have a very difficult time believing that if Marine Le Pen were in his shoes now, that she would be doing that much, better or doing any different. The thing with Macron is that he's the one who was presiding over the Yellow Vest protest, right? So that was quite a train, and he must be feeling very proud of himself now that he kind of, he overcame that. It didn't bring him down. It wasn't enough to bring his government down. And now, after being reelected, which by some miracle, he's still going forward with this. Obviously, his satisfaction is everybody else's terror and sadness, because it's not just about raising the age of retirement, which, I mean, 62 is already, I don't understand this mentality that you're supposed to work until you're old. I mean, that's a horrible thing, man. You should be able to enjoy your life when you are not old. Before that, this mentality like, oh, you should work yourself to death. It's wild. But my point here is that when they were trying to ram this through l'Assemblée Nationale and trying to get it through the government, the people supporting this, they couldn't even answer basic questions. Like by how much more is by how much higher is the the cotisation, the basically what you pay in, is that going to rise, and by how much percent? And does this apply to you if you've already started working before your 18th birthday, as many do in France? Or does it it doesn't change, or just basic questions like this, basic facts they just could not and would not answer. So I mean, this is very banana republic-ish. But I just wanted to kind of bring you up to date on this, because I don't think it's over. There are going to be a lot of protests. This is people are not going to stand for this. I can guarantee you that. It's a matter of principle. You have to understand that the French right now, and I've told you about this many, many times, after, Mélenchon, he wasn't able to get into the second round, the runoff for the presidency. The movement didn't die. It just continued, which is where Bernie Sanders failed and Jeremy Corbyn. Well, I don't want to say failed, because they really crucified that guy much more than Bernie. But there were, when Bernie was like knocked out, it was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna throw up my arms and throw away my whole movement, which is disgusting. And with Mélenchon, they created this NUPES, this coalition. And man, you should see them when they're debating in the National Assembly. They're on fire. Their answer to Macron's clique shutting down the debate for the day, and basically telling them to go home early, is that okay? General strike. They respond with force in the streets. They say, okay, yeah, we're gonna get people to go on strike, and they meet it, and it happens. So on 1st of May, there's going to be a huge strike as well. That's International Workers' Day. That's coming up soon in 2 weeks, right? So expect something very big then. And this is, like I said, this is not going away. That movement is alive and well, right? So just because Macron signed it doesn't mean that he's going to get away with it. Just thought we'd talk about this, yeah? Just so you know.